Hi, I wanted to talk a little bit about the matter formative that everyone took this week and just give you a little bit of additional information about how I graded those and the types of things that I look for, as well as sort of some common mistakes or common errors that people make. So, first of all, in our and first of all, when I grade, anything that is a check mark means that it is correct. That is a People get freaked out sometimes because they see lots of check marks. That's okay. Those are things that I check off as like, yes, you have this. This is good. So those are good things to have those. Also, if I underline something on your paper, that's kind of the same thing. It's just like me keeping track of like, yes, you said this. Yes, you said this. Okay, good points. When I circle things or put them in parentheses, usually you will see some sort of a note attached to that because usually that's either something that is missing or it is incorrect or I need more information about it. So circles, parentheses are things that are maybe incorrect or need more or incomplete. Please do read my comments carefully because I really do spend a lot of time giving comments and writing comments about those. Some of the common things that I saw here were in the models in number one. I saw a lot of people who did not show any movement, and oobleck particles, because they are solid and liquid, are always moving. More so, I would say, in the first picture than the second picture. So I should see some sort of movement. I should see some sort of differentiation also in the movement of the solid and the liquid particles. Like in mine, I drew the arrows for the liquid particles because they're moving more. And then I just had these little right here, these little vibration lines for the solid cornstarch particles because they only vibrate and don't move very much. But there definitely is movement here, and I should see that as part of your model. The speaker is underneath, and at this point in time, because there's no energy being added, so I shouldn't see anything there. I shouldn't see any energy being added, is what I should say. For B, now here I see the speaker on, and the force and sound energy is coming up from the bottom as I drew it. So I drew it so it's sort of like you're seeing sort of a cross section where the bottom is the bottom towards the bottom of the paper, and that's where the speaker is. And I'm showing the energy going up like that. That is the only location the energy is coming from. There is no energy coming from the top. There is really no energy coming from the sides. Depending how you drew it, you might have energy sort of on the sides if you kind of drew it a little bit differently and like as if you were drawing it from the top, that might look different. But if you were drawing it from the top and what I was seeing on your paper was the top view, then really the energy would be coming from like the back of the paper. So I think this is a better way to draw it, and it's easier to see it because you can see here's the energy below and it is traveling upwards, which is what actually happens. So what happens to the particles, the energy from the sound from the speaker is a different type of energy that is not heat energy. It does maybe get transferred into kinetic energy because we can see the speaker moving, right? And we can see the oobleck also moving and bouncing. So then that is what is pushing those particles together. And so what you can see in my model B is that the particles are being pushed upward, all of them being pushed upward, but liquid particles, being that they move more and move faster than solid particles, they get pushed up farther. So I wouldn't see, this was a common mistake I saw where people drew the solid particles like in a ring around the liquid particles. That is not what is happening in this situation. We drew that as an example in class because we did that when we were rolling it in a ball. That's not happening here. When you're rolling it in the ball, your hands are sort of circled around the ball, so they are pushing from all directions. That is not what the speaker is doing. So I should not see solid particles in like a ring around the liquid particles in the center. That would be inaccurate. So that was a really common thing that I saw. Very common to see the particles closer together. That's great. The particles of liquid closer to the top. That makes sense. Anytime, of course, that anything is behaving like a solid, we know that the particles are packed very close together. But especially the fact that it bounces up, and when when the oobleck leaves the speaker, it still is in sort of that fixed state, shows us that the stuff on the bottom especially must be solid because it's not dripping back down. It's actually kind of staying together, sort of like a pancake would if you flip a pancake. It's kind of similar to that. So those are really some of the main points and main inaccuracies that I saw there. For part 2, the communication CER target, on the backside, for the most part, people did quite well with this. The video does support the claim because Oobleck changes state with the addition of sound energy, or if you said vibrations or kinetic energy, that's fine because those are all, yeah, we have all of those things happening. We can see the physical movement of the speaker, so that's kinetic energy or vibrations. We can hear the sound energy, any of those things works. It's not heat energy is the main point. If it was Newtonian, it would change state with the addition of heat energy, and that's not what is happening. So therefore, it is a non-Newtonian fluid. In your support of your claim, number 4, you have to talk about several things here. So I need you to tell me about what you saw in the video that leads you to believe that it is non-Newtonian, in that the sound energy is what is changing state. So you should tell me what you specifically saw in the video. You also need to tell me, in order to make the connection between the evidence, what you see, and the claim, well, okay, so you saw this, but how does that make it non-Newtonian? So you definitely have to tell me what a non-Newtonian fluid is and give a definition for that or some sort of description. And what it is a substance that changes state without the addition of heat. So this other type of energy is what is changing state, and that's what makes it non-Newtonian. You also really need to tell me, and here's where I've said this a couple of times, people forget about the obvious stuff. How do I know what a salad looks like? How did you know that it looked like a salad? What does a salad look like? How did you know that it looked like a liquid? What does a liquid look like? So describe what those states of matter are, describe how we identify those and how we see those. And that is something, like I've mentioned, people overlook the really easy, obvious things. You know what a salad looks like, but tell me, because that's what makes the connection between what you see and what you know to be true, what you've learned about like scientific concepts like non-Newtonian fluids, solids, liquids, etc. Finally, for number 5, there are lots of different pieces of evidence in other experiments that we have done. So there's not one right answer. I gave you one example in the answer key that I posted. It can be really anything that is relevant or makes sense, but it really has to be something that supports and connects to the video, and you have to tell me how what you saw with your other Oobleck experiment is the same as what you saw in the video. So a common one that people wrote about was how it was like when we rolled it in a ball, because when we rolled it in a ball, we added kinetic energy through the force of our hands, and that pushed the Oobleck together to make it like a salad. Whereas when they let go and they stopped putting kinetic energy into their hands and pushing the Oobleck particles together, then it sort of fell apart. It melted, people said. It turned into a liquid. You saw it be very free-flowing and runny. And so it was a different type of energy, not heat energy again, which is how it's similar to the video of the sound and the speaker. So please let me know if you have specific questions about your paper. I hope this was helpful for you, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.